Welcome back to another episode of Ignite, the podcast. Today, I have none other than Shane, Mr. Shane SEO is how you'll find him on the socials. But this guy's gone from zero up to 500 properties and investments. He's a real estate investor. Man, welcome to the actual podcast, brother.
Diego, thanks for having me, man. Yeah.
So, hey, let's kind of jump right into it, man, because I've seen you kind of everywhere right now. Recently, you're just booming everywhere.
Really?
And I see you build relationships. I want to touch bases with you on that because I see you with Richard Bronson. I've seen you with, a bunch of different individuals. I've seen you with Glenn Stern.
Yeah.
Some high-level people. So, what's the power of that? What do you have going on there? Why are you doing that?
So it took me 5 years to get into real estate. So it was really slow because I didn't have any mentors. And then it's taken me 5 years to get into personal branding because I'm an introverted person. As your wife was telling me, you're an introvert. Y'all know me as the introverted guy because I am. But one thing about talking to Ty and Grant,
You're no introvert, brother.
Oh.
You talk well. But go ahead. So
I appreciate
Ty Lopez too as well.
Yeah. Well, Ty, Grant, all of them. So I paid $100,000 for coaching for Grant. I went, did the coaching with Ty, and now we're partnering on some stuff. And they all tell me the same thing. It's not who you know, it's who knows you. So personal branding is very powerful. And even Elon Musk, Mark Zuckerberg, these guys are focusing on their personal brand. So last year in January, I said, you know what? I'm really going to lean into this. I'm just going to put my money where my mouth is. I'm going to take time, just get out of my comfort zone, go meet people. And now that I've done it, because we've been holding workshops, we held a conference, I've been meeting these guys and going to networking events, it's opened up so many opportunities. Look, I'm sitting here because of an event. I went to that conference. I was nervous, and you were so friendly to come talk to me to help me, so I didn't have to approach you. You approached me, so that was cool. But yeah, we've bought more properties. We've met new students. We've met other partners that can do deals with us just because of it. So there's a lot of power in the personal branding for sure.
Yeah, and then you've been around a lot. I saw that you've been around a lot of heavy hitters. And when I met you, I had no idea. I just saw you. We were in the back VIP room and with Ty and other people in there, and I just introduced myself to you, right? And to me, it's like I've never really kind of judge a book by its cover, or and you say introvert, I'm like, what? But you were quiet at that moment. But then I started looking into what you have going on. I said, man, this guy's been around and he's got some, quite a bit of relationships, and it's true. It's always. I kind of say the opposite. I tell people is who you know, not what you know. So I always tell people now I can see you around these individuals that, okay, this is someone I can build a relationship with, someone that's more of a high caliber, and that when you are in these circles, you kind of look and see, you value your time more, right? So you value your time where either you're going to give value or you're going to be receiving value. And so, when I do that, I always kind of look and see, I can build a relationship with this individual. One, you're an investor in real estate, which we both are.
Yes.
But look, talk about your accent too. I didn't mention where you're from. You're in the ATL in Atlanta, right? What part of Atlanta?
I'm born in the South, Atlanta. Well, I'm actually from Albany, Georgia, which not many people know where that's at. But it's kind of like at southwest, near Florida, actually. It's south as you can get in Georgia. Then I moved to Rome, Georgia. Now I'm in Atlanta, Georgia. Yes.
Yeah.
So strong accent here, So hope you can understand me.
No, and I see that. I got to see your beautiful home, man. You got a nice place, out there. And as a matter of fact, speaking of my wife, she was like, "Did you say is that Shane's house? Is that Shane?" I said, "Yeah, I seen that. That must be his place."
And we have a conference May 30th. I was telling Rudy here that you guys, your wife, y'all come out to the conference. I'll give you some tickets. We have a mansion party. Y'all come out to my house. I'd love to have you guys.
Oh man, that would be great.
Yes.
That would be great. And then what's the name of the conference? Just so people that are actually watching, they can know what it is.
So it's the Pivot Summit. So thepivotsummit.com, or you guys can DM me, and I'll send, just to your audience, I'll send free ticket to every single person who reaches out. Too.
Oh,
we'd
awesome.
love to have. And the reason why we did this is because, I went to a lot of conferences. And I got so much value. And what I wanted to do is I said, you know what? If the more people I meet, maybe I'll make a future partner with someone if we're teaching stuff. Because sometimes we're doing a free workshop this Saturday. It's 4 hours. I don't charge anything. We just want to go and teach, give value like you guys do. And if we get future partners, great. If not, they're going to leave, make some money, and I feel good because I planted the seed. And they'll talk good about it. So it's just a win-win. I believe just kind of networking and doing these events.
Yeah. It definitely does it. It's always it's behind the scenes what happens, right, in the connections that you make. And
100%.
It's always good. People learn, you give, and then you receive in return. And I think that's really what the events do for a lot of us.
I agree. Yes.
And Talk about your meetup with Ben. I know you Ben's a character, right? Ben Malam.
Yeah, definitely. Because I am introverted, and if you are extroverted, no one's more extroverted than Ben. So everyone's quiet around Ben. It feels like, 'cause he's what you see is what you get. He's brutally honest. He tells you about the good, the bad, and the ugly. He's just completely raw about everything. And the good thing is, behind the scenes, I just get to see how much of a family man he is. A lot of people see him as a business guy, but what I admired is the fact of his character, that he takes care of his family. He loves his kids. His kids adore him. Yeah. And just seeing how he is with his dynamic with his wife. And I'm a newlywed. I just got married in November. So watching him, and I went and talked to Elena Cardone. She gave me a lot of advice of how you can make a relationship work, at the same time build an empire or build your business, kind of like you and your wife have done. You know, you got to have good balance, and they have to be good and supportive, and you support them. So I got to see a lot of that in Ben, and his house is amazing, by the way. So absolutely beautiful.
That's awesome. Yeah. And then those are again back to like the relationship that you're able to build, and you know, back in the days, man, I'm from way back in the days, and it was hard to get, you know, in these kind of rooms, and now it's just so much easier through investing in yourself, right, and investing in this relationship, building a relationship. So people don't realize, like you yourself, like even if you don't have an event going on, you know, you invest to get in the room and mentored by that right individual. Back in the days, you couldn't even pay to be in those rooms. No. And now, you know, like you just said, it develops like a faster way of you growing. Right, because you're in the right rooms.
That's right.
With 100%. The right people, huh?
So I have a question for you. Yeah. So you were already a successful real estate investor. What made you want to get into personal branding? And then how long did it take you to finally say, okay, I'm going to do it?
You know, it's crazy. I jumped into it back in 2019, me and Albert both, when we met. And he was the one that, you know, one of my first relationships that I said, okay, he's like, I through Grant Cardone. It was like all kind of put together. So he did an event, had Grant speak at it. I was at a party in Inland Empire, where I'm from, just at a boxing event party that we were at. And they were like, hey, do you know Albert? Do you know Grant Cardone? And I'm like, I don't know who these. And they knew I was an investor. They're like, how do you not know them? You know, you're an investor in real estate, right? And so I did my research, found who they were, and I found that Albert was closer. I think Grant was already in Florida at that time. So and Albert and I can relate with the 2008 market crash and everything that happened. I lost everything as well myself. So I reached out to Albert, and long story short, he was like, oh, you know, they do their again mentorship program. I said, yeah, that's fine. Don't, you know, I'm just trying to get in the room to figure out how to go from SFR, single family resident investing, to multi-units, because that's what they were preaching at that time, which multi-units. And we just started like kind of connected, and instead of going into the multi-unit, you know, world, it was more of the branding world with Albert, right? And I was like, you know, branding, like you should get a Ferrari, you should do this, you should that, like, so it was like me trying to understand that. And even then it took me, I stepped away from it in 2019. I got a marketing team together, and we started doing all this stuff. And at the time I already owned like at that time a Maserati that my wife wanted. We had a kid, and she's like, you know, we're gonna buy me a car, and so we had something already to brand with, and we started that. But I went back into the real estate, right, my comfort zone. I said, you know what, I'm gonna go back, because my accounting was like, hey, you're over leveraging, you're spending money on this marketing thing. That where are you headed with this? They didn't understand it, right, the branding, and stupid me, I went back and listened to them, kind of went and said, okay, let me go back into making the numbers right with the real estate and what we do. And so we needed to hit like $1 million that end of that year. So I needed to go back and focus, because all my focus had been in the branding. And so I did that, but I stepped away. That was where my mistake was at. I stepped away, and last year I stepped back in. You know, and I stepped back in for branding because it's huge. Like you just mentioned earlier about all the individuals, even our President Trump. You know how everything is based on people that know you, and what type of people know you, right? It's who you know, and it's huge. So I'm really good with relationship building. You know what I mean? And so I know that for me,
I can tell. I have a lot to learn from you too. I've seen how you guys do. Yeah.
So it's just like introducing myself and really owning the red carpet. I think for me, it's just been able to do that, and it's huge, because I think as I grow, my brand has like skyrocketed. Right? Has grown without even, like, my wife was talking about this, speaking to her, like, the fact that that's my partner. That's what we talk about, everything all the time, right? So
that's awesome.
We were talking about just how in 19 it didn't grow as fast as now, right? 2024, I came into the picture and it's just like blew up, and I mean, I could never imagined it, and it's amazing. And thanks to relationships like Albert, and then growing from there and building other relationships, like now obviously having a relationship and meeting Wes Watson, Amadeo Yados from Florida, just other individuals that I got a chance to kind of grow and meet, and through those relationships just build more and more. And now here we are, brother.
Well,
somebody in Atlanta, man.
Yeah, and I got to meet Albert and meet you at the Driven Conference. And Albert, we're here at his office, and I hear his guys in there. There's a lot of energy.
Yeah.
So I think it's really cool. Y'all are around good people.
Yeah, that's
great.
Exactly. It's all about the energy that you put out and you bring out with the people that come into your teams.
No, 100%.
Yeah, man. So let's talk about another thing, because I noticed your wrist. I was like looking forward to seeing what you had on on your wrist, and I know you own a Bugatti watch. I saw that.
Yes.
And I was like, how come you're not? What's going on with your wrist? You're in LA. You're from Atlanta. You're like.
Yeah, I'm from Atlanta. And then someone made a sale just now.
There goes the sales.
Someone just made literally $10,000 in there. They are happy.
Go.
Yeah. I want to go out there and dance now. Okay. No. So I mean, I've been seeing a lot of stuff in the news about here in California, like right off of Rodeo, there's like a guy like killed. I think he was getting into his Lamborghini, or like you said, someone over here with their watch. And I said, I'm not going to go walking the streets in Los Angeles, even with a Casio, if I can help it. But yeah, I love watches. I always try and get a different watch per really big win. So I got the Jacob & Co. watch, the rose gold, and it's the second one. So I saw Andrew Tate had one. I saw Jake Paul had one. I know Manny Koshman's got one. So I said, I'm going to get one. I'm going to reward myself. So I got one. I got an RM. I got a Whiteface Daytona. Really nerdy guy. I like to collect them, and just when I look at them, I say, man, I remember why I bought it and how I won. To be able to justify the purchase. Probably dumb, but that's just how I've always been.
No, it's not. What's the percentage that you use? You think like you get a win? I'll give you an example. Like for us, it's a 10%, right? So I have a 90-10 rule. I always talk about like using 90%, reinvesting, and 10% we can gift ourselves or do something like that. So what's the percentage that you decide? Hey, I'm gonna gift myself.
Yeah, 5-10%. That's probably it. And then also
off the win, right? Off the win, off whatever you made.
Absolutely. And then also too, if I can make content out of it, because I am new to the personal branding. For example, I bought a 6x6 Apocalypse, and you can't finance that. So I bought that, and I said, man, how do I justify this? Number one, I was like, I can make good content. Number two, what kind of branding will that help? And it did.
Creating attention.
Creating
attention.
Right? I hate to say this because I used to bash the people too that showed their Lamborghinis and I know you have a beautiful Ferrari, like Ferraris and stuff like. People used to bash that, but sadly, that's how you get attention, especially from the young people. A kid is not going to admire someone driving a Honda Civic. They're going to admire the guy in the Lamborghini. I don't care who it is.
Yeah.
Now, and of course, you have to be someone that they want to be like.
100%.
So you got, so that's kind of how I justified it. So I bought the truck, around $200,000, but because of that, and I calculate to make sure that I did it right, we made about $500,000 from the relationships that we got using that truck.
That's crazy.
So same thing with the watch. It helped me grow my YouTube channel. Look, even a talking point like with you, like people notice that. And of course, it's a win for me, but I also justify what will it help me with my branding?
Yeah.
Number one, when I bought it, I told the guy at Jacob, I said, I'm not going to buy it unless Jacob comes out and sells it to me. So I left, came back to New York. And Jacob himself came and showed it to me, and I wanted it for content.
Wow.
And I've had some offers on it, fun enough. So I don't know. I don't like to sell watches because I'm very, sentimental about it. And I went through a lot of hard work to be able to earn it, But it's brought me a lot of great opportunities. And everyone seems to mention that, which is good. More than my little Rolex or something. They love that, right? Jacob & Co. I won't wear that in California, though.
Yeah. 100%. I want to see it one day, when I come out to Atlanta.
Yeah,
but
come out.
You have the RMs, just like, how important is it to build, again, individuals at higher level, we pay attention to certain things like that, right? It's like you're in the room, it's like, okay, what's on the risk? Because you can't, this is what I was told, you can't drive your car everywhere. So, what's going to be on you that, people can notice? Yeah,
and like you have a beautiful watch there. What is that? Is that
an AP?
Yeah, AP. I don't have any AP. I want one. Yeah. I want an AP and a Patek.
Let me know. I got a guy,
Well, please,
he'll ship it to you.
Well, hook me up. That'd be great. Yeah, but like, there's very little things that guys can wear as an accessory.
Yeah, exactly.
But a watch. So why not, Yeah. So
And at least you're better than me, man. Me, everything's up for sale, man. If somebody gives me an offer and it's a great offer, hey, I'm flipping that thing and making some money.
It's like my grandma. She bought a property for $25,000.
Oh, I'm not gonna flip my grandma though. I don't know.
No. But she bought a property for $25,000, and she's, her husband, when he passed, they spreaded his ashes, and my uncle, when he passed, they spreaded his ashes. And she goes, "I'll never sell this until I die." And I said, "If someone came and offered you $10 million," she goes, even her, there's a price.
Yeah.
So even for me, I'm sure there's a price, but but I try not to. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, and I get it, because it's a win for you, and it's something that reminds you of like, hey, what challenges and obstacles you face to that. And you know what? One thing I wanted to talk about is the fear that people out there are always, they're afraid, right? And you just said you're an introvert. You're like, I need to do this though. This is like, I have to. And at that time, you're already successful as well, I wouldn't say entrepreneur, because you are, and as an investor, you're already successful. So you really, some people would be like, well, you don't have to be in the limelight. You don't have to get yourself out there. But you understood the importance of branding, and you took yourself off of that, and you faced your fear, right? That's like the thing I like. What would you say to someone out there that's like watching this and going, man, like I want to do something, and this guy, you again, I'm going back to, you're not an introvert, that's how it feels, because you're on the screen, you're not. But what would you say to that person? That's a lot of people have to face that fear, right? Hey, just
so as a entrepreneur,
what did it take for you? I guess that's pretty much what I'm asking.
So in the personal branding part, like the introvert part, is that I use this as an excuse too, by the way. I'm going to tell you my excuse because I was fearful. Is I said, I'm an entrepreneur, I'm an investor, and I build up assets, and I like to keep things anonymous and hidden. Like we like to hide, right? That's most people, right? Yeah. I don't want to be a target. So I tried to use as an excuse, but I realized that you just got to get over it and just listen to what the billionaires. Have you ever noticed that the tip top people will tell you different examples than what that guy who has just $2-3 million bucks? They tell it. Grant says different things than what a normal millionaire will do. 100%. Usually, when someone makes $1 million or $2 million, they stop doing the things they used to do to make that $1 million or $2 million because they get afraid. So fear is the number one takedown. And I'll be honest with you. With real estate, it took me 5 years to get my first deal because of fear. And it has taken me 5 years to start personal branding because of fear. I'm an introvert. I don't want to look like an idiot. I was talking to Rudy over. I said, no, I don't want to look fat on camera, right? It's just, I'm going to glow. I'm so white. I don't have a tan, I just don't like it. It just, you got to get past it, because I don't want to do things in increments of 5 years. That's what it seems to be like. And I'm 38 years old. If I would have started real estate when I was 25 instead of getting my first deal when I was 30, where would I be? Yeah. If I would have started personal branding 5 years ago, I'd be Diego. So I mean, I'd be ahead of the game, right? Yeah. So I would say, like, right now, it's just whatever you know that you need to do, just do it. Like, for example, if you want to do a sales call, you're like, most salespeople, I know there's a bunch of sales guys there. That's the hardest people to motivate, because you're getting rejected all the time. They don't like it when they answer, oh, it's a sales. They don't like it. So usually if you're a sales guy, you're going to look at your phone and you're going to say, oh, I got to do a call. And then you're going to take like 10 minutes to start doing the call. You're going to do a call and you're going to stay on the phone for like 2 hours because you don't want to have to call someone else. You've already built rapport. You know what I'm saying? Yep. I just say that. I look at the phone. I say, you know what? Before I think about it and let the fear get in, I just hit the call.
Just do it.
Same thing with every deal that I did, because I don't know much about how you invest and everything with real estate, because I want to get to that. I didn't have any money. I didn't have any credit, and I didn't know what to do. So I had to buy creatively, and that's the hardest way to buy. The easiest way to buy is cash. Then there's cash and financing. Then there's creative. All I could do is creative, and I didn't even know what I was doing, so I was even more afraid. So when I was going to talk to the seller, and I'm a young guy that's 30 and feeling like a loser, and I don't know what I'm doing, I just had to say, you know what? I just got to go talk, see where it goes, build rapport. And then I got rejected on my first time going to a house. So now I had to go with rejection. So then I said, well, I got to call the second person. Oh. So I just did it. I did it, and before I could even think anymore, I just called, and I got the house. And if it wasn't for that, I wouldn't have grown to where I am today. So every time that I've seen that I've gotten to fear, just don't think about it. Just don't let your mind wander off on it. Just do it. You know what I'm saying? So that's kind of what I did. Wow, and I'm 38 years old and just got married. That shows it too. So I'm going to say it's because I had good patience. I waited for the perfect girl. But if I would have never taken the initiative to talk to her, I would have I'd still be single right now, right?
Exactly.
So you got to have that 20 seconds of courage, you know what I'm saying? And just do it.
To get it done.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
How about you?
And that's, I mean, I've always been a go-getter, to be honest with you. I've always been the one out there hustling.
It's that Mexican blood, man. That's it. That Latino
I've always
blood.
been like hungry, So it's like, and I continue to be hungry, So there's just like no stop. And and thank you for that compliment. Yeah, Mexican. I think overall, at least us old schoolers, we're fighters. We go through everything and we continue to go and we get back up and we keep running.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's what to me, it's just in my blood, right? To not give up.
Oh yeah. One of my buddies, and I'll give him a shout. His name's Edwin Garcia. His family's from El Salvador. He came here when he was a young kid. Oh no. His family came here and then had him here in the States. But his whole family put those values in, like, look, opportunity, go get it. And he is the biggest go getter. And I'm going to have to give him credit because I said it took me 5 years to get my first deal, but it wasn't like this moment that said, I'm going to get past my fear. It was because he pushed me to get my first deal.
Wow.
For 5 years, I got 33 properties under contract and canceled every time because I was just afraid. I made every agent mad, I tell you. But with him, he had just got his license. He was like a 20-year-old kid. He's like, ooh, Shane, I'll be able to double dip. Shane's going to buy this property. I'm going to make some money. He's going to sell it. I'm going to make commission again. And he pushed me.
So he was the agent.
He was the agent. Okay. And when I said, man, I called him to cancel like I did with all the other times. And he said, Shane, no. He just pushed me really hard. But what it did is it changed my mindset. It said, I can't do it, to how can I do it? That's the thing that changed my life.
That's crazy.
So on that first deal, because the second deal was actually my career. The first deal was this. I got my mindset, how can I make it happen? So I called friends, borrowed money from a buddy, bought the house. I used my credit cards to do all the repairs and maintenance with other amigos or vatos, right? Mm-hmm. And we sold it and we made $60,000. It was stressful, but it planted that seed. And I have to thank that young 20-year-old kid.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
And then for those that don't know, I mean, an agent doesn't get paid if that deal doesn't close. So
that's right.
That's 33 agents that are upset because you canceled the deal in between or whatever.
I want to apologize to all of you agents if you're watching too, by the way. I know I made so many upset.
No, and it's crazy that you say that because we've all made that mistake, especially if you're an investor. I mean, I'm a seasoned investor for over 20 years, but I've had those situations where I'm like, they're like, are you ready to go? We're going to continue with this deal. We're going to close the deal. And I'm just like, there's something that tells me don't. And then I don't. And then I go back and go, shoot, man, that's, that's 100,000. That's 200,000. That's 300,000. Like I'm losing money. So it's like you just for that one simple decision of just going through with it. And it's not like it was going to make or break me. It wasn't that I couldn't afford it or I couldn't do the deal. It was just like, no, let's just let that one ride, and then all of a sudden, just like you're letting $200,000-$300,000 ride. I'm like, oh man, this is crazy.
Yeah, so you know the pain.
Yeah, and for them, it's only a commission of that, so they're just like, if you imagine the pain for you and imagine the pain for me, I gotta still keep feeding my people, or feeding my family.
Absolutely.
So I respect it a lot more now, and I tell people like the importance of having the lending, your lender or your realtor, the people that you're working with on your team. Making sure that, you understand that their time is money, and that they don't close the deal and you're wasting their time, then, that's unfortunate for them and their family as well. So you got to kind of be considerate. Either you're ready or you're not. And if you are, like you just said, pull the trigger and make it happen.
That's right.
It's only fair to them because they only get paid off a commission. So
yeah, and if I would have known it, because I'm from a small town, though, we're in Los Angeles right here. Yeah. This is a huge town. Yeah. Where I was at, there's like it's Rome, Georgia, this small little town.
Yeah,
few people, no one's really. It's where you go to settle down, not where you go to like I'm going to excel. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I didn't have any mentor, and I really didn't have any like-minded people.
Yeah.
So if I would have been around, like you just said, around that circle and that group of people, I would have honestly excelled so much quicker. Maybe I would have had more of that Latino blood. I married a Latina.
No,
she's
man, you're
from
doing
Costa
well
Rica.
yourself, man. 8 years and 0 to 500 properties. How do you go from, again, you started with creative financing is what you said. So for those that don't know, can you kind of go into a little bit about, dumb it down a bit for people that are viewers about what creative financing is or how your first deal was? Maybe you can kind of go over
so my first deal was the one I told you. I borrowed money from a buddy. We did the fix and flip thing.
How much money?
It was only a $45,000 home.
Okay, so how much money did you borrow from your buddy?
Oh, $45,000.
Okay, so you borrowed $45,000.
Yeah, and then I used $20,000 like on credit cards to do the repairs, and it took me 8 months to do a fix and flip. So it shows I was not good at fix and flips. I'm just gonna be honest. I didn't know what I was doing. I had no experience, right? Bought the property and that we bought it in January. My birthday's in February, so I bought it when I was 29 years old, 1 month before turning 30. We sold it in August, so it took 8 months. The first contractor bailed. I'm stressed the whole time. I have people like, that were already veterans because I wasn't doing real estate in 2008, 2010.
Yeah.
But they were telling me, oh, yeah, 2008, 2010, it's horrible. You got to be careful. You can lose your money. There could be recession. Yeah. Had all this going through my mind. I'm sitting there thinking, I'm going to lose my friend's money. I'm going to be stuck in credit card debt. Everything's going to go to shambles. I'm going to be in trouble. In May, because I bought it in January, we sold it in August. In May, I found a YouTube video, and I cannot find it to this day. This old guy, horrible audio, horrible video, had an echo in the room, and it had a tint of brown. And he talked about how you could buy properties with no bank, no credit, and no cash. And I said, it sounded like a scam at first. You know what I mean? Because that's exactly how a scam talks at first. But when I heard it, something clicked because I saw that there was no risk. And what was the no risk? You find a property, get it under contract. If it don't sell, cancel it. And I was the master of failure in canceling contracts. But you don't go to the broker this time. You contact the seller. So I remember, January to August, we sold it in August. I said, I'm going to try this seller financing thing. So I went to a park, Ridge Ferry Park in Rome, Georgia. And I sat down under this gazebo. And I remember looking at my phone, and it was this house for sale. I think it was off Craigslist or Zillow or something for sale. And I said, just call it. So I did exactly what I got over past. I'm just going to do it anyway. I hit the button, called, talked to this lady, went and viewed, tried to pitch seller financing, and she rejected me. It didn't work. But the plus is I realized it wasn't as bad as I thought. I knew that I made a mistake. The interaction wasn't bad. And I said, man, if I keep doing this, something's going to work. So I said, one more, I'm going to call another. So I called another one. This lady answered. She was a landlord. She was in the middle of an eviction. She wanted $95,000 for the home. Like I said, we're in a small town. We're not here in Los Angeles at the time. She says $95,000. The lady that I'm evicting is getting out Friday. So I said, fine. I came out and saw her on a Saturday. Walked inside. When I drove up to the house, the grass was like this high, garbage outside, and I could see she was paler than I was, red, flushed red, like just stressed, So I pulled up, and I didn't try and go into business investor mode. I just said, hey, how are you? I'm so sorry that this happened. And she goes, how could they? And I just kind of had a lot of empathy for her. I said, I'm very sorry, When we opened up the front door, it went straight into this kitchen, and the smell, like, whew, telling you, it was awful. Yeah. It was awful, okay? Walked inside, and when we walked in, the floor's kind of dipping because, like, in the corner, like, the joist was messed up. So it was dangerous, really, now I look back on it. And she complained again. And I said, well, look, let me just get to know you a little bit. Like, why did you buy this home? So I knew why she bought it, okay? I already knew her motivation. You can clearly see it. So that's the next thing that you want to know. And I got her to relax. I saw the moment when she goes, she's just talking to me as a friend.
Let her guard down.
Yeah, let her guard down, feel good, just comfortable. We're getting on the same page here, right? Mm-hmm. And instead of bashing the home, I just kept saying, this is a beautiful home, great location. I'm sorry this happened to you. Let's just walk around inside the house. You just tell me a little bit about the home. While we're walking around, I didn't want to bash the home, so I made noise. I said, ooh, huh. I hear a little squeak, and I'm writing this on a notepad. She sees me writing. I didn't have to bash it. She saw me writing it. Mm-hmm. No doorknob here, hole in the wall, garbage everywhere, bathroom, the toilet seat thing's gone. Like, she sees all this. We go back to the kitchen, and I say, Miss Ruth, this is a great home. I'm sorry this happened. Well, I know that you said you wanted 95. If we take this in as-is condition, what would you be willing to come down to if we take it as is? She says 85. So I said, thank you so much. We walked outside, walked around the house. I looked at the air condition. She sees me looking at stuff. We go back in the home. And I said, Miss Ruth, I'm going to step outside now, because that's what the guy on the YouTube video said. I didn't know what I was doing, to be honest with you.
Oh, you're just following that. You're following
I'm following what that old guy said.
It wasn't video.
Yeah,
and it was, of course, it was just a video you saw.
Yeah. Now all the empathy and all that stuff, that's just me. But but I said, man, I'm gonna step outside, and I said this one thing. I said, how much do you really want if I step outside and go to bat for you and call my boss? She went from, don't forget, she started 95. She's at 80. She went to 45 grand. So I step outside and I'm going to talk to my boss now, and I don't know what I'm doing, And the first thing I did, I said, "Oh God," I'm praying. I said, "Lord, if this is your will, open the door. If it's not closed," I'm freaking out. I said, "I'm about to pitch terms. I got rejected the first time. I'm about to pitch it to her this time." So we step inside. Okay. And real quick, I'm going to do a little quick side note here. I'm going to pitch seller financing. Okay. Seller financing means you're letting the seller be the bank instead of you having to go to a bank. We're asking the bank to basically, the seller to upgrade, in this case, from landlord to banker. That's basically what we're doing. We're making it 100% passive for that person instead of them having to handle toilets and evictions and this stress. So I knew that when I stepped outside, all right? So that's seller finance. We're paying her monthly payments, and that's it. Okay. So
because at this point the house is paid off.
It's paid off. She didn't owe anything.
And she's wanting 45,000.
She's wanting 95 to 85 to 45. And never in my wildest dreams. I was like, man, my first house was 45. It was weird. It was like, this is fate, Yeah. So I go in and I say, "Miss Ruth, here's the thing. Great news. Talk to my partner. I think we're going to make a deal work. I am super excited. Here's the thing." And then I'm like, okay, I'm going to pitch terms. So then I said, "I don't know if the bank will give a loan on a house in this condition." Okay. Now I say, I don't know if it'll meet HUD standards. I learned that now. But then I said, I don't know if they'll give it in this condition. And then I let her have it. I said, the roof, and I'm reading off the roof, the air conditioner, the blank, the joist. I don't think they will. However, if you would work with me and let me pay you monthly, and I'll fix everything that needs to get fixed, I'll cash you out at a later time. And she actually said, "Oh, I know, I don't want to do that." And I kind of just said, "Well, I understand." I understand. But after a bit, she finally said, "Okay, I'll do it, but I want $10,000 down." And I was like, shoot. I did make some money on the first house, but, I need money for repairs. I'm sitting there, I only got I split the money, the 60 grand that me and my buddy made. Gave him 50%. I only had 30 grand, and I knew I had to pay tax. So I'm like, man, in my mind, I'm like, I only have 20 grand. I still got to do repairs to this thing, roof, air conditioner. What am I going to do? So I told her, I said, "Well, I understand that you would want $10,000 to show skin in the game. I would too.
Yeah.
Here's the thing, though. It would be really difficult for me to pay a double down payment. If I pay you 10, then I come out $30,000 or $40,000 and repair this home, and I'm not making any monthly income, and it's an uphill battle, and I'm going to take in all this work, and as is, it'd be tough. How about this? Can my repairs and maintenance and everything I do, can that be the skin in the game?" And she said yes. So I got it under contract that day, Diego, for $1 earnest money, okay, 0 money down, 30 days to close, okay, 60 days to my first payments due after the day of closing. So I had 90 days from that day that I would owe my first payment. I would pay closing costs, so that is the one thing that I was going to do. And due diligence ends on the day of closing, so I can have my $1 non-refundable.
So
right?
those that are actually listening, so it actually goes into escrow.
Yes.
You put it into escrow, and that way is you have that arbitration, but you have it legitimately done. What about title? Is title and escrow pretty?
Yeah. So I passed after I sat down with. No. I don't know how tactile you guys want to be, but this is what I do.
Because I just want to make sure that they know that it wasn't just a contract that you drew up and all of a sudden, okay, here we go, $1 and we're started. No, like you went in and drew up a contract and then actually processed it through escrow and title.
Okay, yeah. So here's what, So I don't own the home. I have it under contract to be able to buy, right? Mm-hmm. But what seller? I don't know about you, but let's just say Rudy, have you ever bought a home before?
Yes.
Okay. Even you, if I come to want to buy your home and I bring a contract, are you going to sign that with me? No, I want my attorney or my real estate agent to do it, right? Yeah. So that's what she said to me. And I said, here's the thing. I brought a standard purchase and sell agreement, and it said standard on it. I found it. I don't know where I found it, offline or something. I said, how about this? I'm going to let you fill it out, and if you feel comfortable, we'll sign it. That's how I got her to sign it. So I let her fill out the purchase. She put buyer, seller, name. In the stipulation, said it'll be $1 earnest money. And the only reason I came up with $1 about it wasn't that I didn't want to pay her like $1,000 down or something in escrow and, put that money in escrow. It's just, I heard from the video, he says, you have to put money to make it binding. And I was like, shoot, I forgot to bring a checkbook. I only had a little bit of money. So I pulled out $1 and rolled it. I said, hey, we got to make it binding. Here's $1. And I said a corny uncle joke. I said, you can buy Dr. Pepper. I'm from the South, okay? We say these things, okay? And I had her sign at the bottom a receipt that she received $1 to make it binding, okay? So it's under contract. I do not own it, okay? But now, let's just repeat the terms. I have 30 days to close, 30 days to cancel, due diligence, basically. 60 days after closing, after the 30 days, 60 days is when my first payment's due. Yeah. Zero money down, and I told her, I said, I'll pay you, and I forget how we calculate, but it's $286 per month until paid off, which means zero interest, okay? So that was going to be my terms, all right? Now, I got it under contract, and I did the second thing that this guy said do. While it's under contract, I marketed the property, not for sale, because you could wholesale this sucker, or I could have fixed and flipped it, really. Yeah. What I did is I put it up as a lease with an option to buy, okay? So I found someone to pay me $7,000 for the option, okay, and pay me $1,000 a month rent for this house, and they would take it as is condition, okay. So once I knew he had that, I closed. I used $680 or something out of his $7 to pay closing costs because I was like, man, so I made like $6,200. I made $1,000 a month, right? 30 days later after closing, I got to keep the full $1,000. 30 days later, I got $1,000. I paid her $286. And I was like, man, I can really scale this. I could really scale this business. And I'm giving the opportunity to a tenant buyer, which I sold it to him for $130, giving him the option, a opportunity to get what he needs to get fixed, and buy it. So I built a whole little method out of that. So that was my first deal. Now, he did leave 6 months later. So I sold it again and on a lease and option with $15 down and $1,200 a month.
Wait. Kind of go over that one again. So
all right. So me and you are investors.
And first, before we continue on these stories, I love it. I love exactly the way it's all going through. Yeah. What year was this?
This was 2017.
Okay, perfect. I just wanted people to know that it wasn't in 1997 or something. Oh, that doesn't exist nowadays. Yeah. It was only 2017.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So let's go over you said that person that you ended up doing the 7,000 and you're renting for $1,000 a month.
Yes.
They left after.
They vanished. Like, no joke, vanished. And I was like, man, because here I am. I took a hefty option fee. It's not a down payment, it's an option fee.
Yeah.
I'm trying to give them an opportunity. I went and usually, like, if we own apartments, you love multifamily too. Mm-hmm. If that person leaves, it takes you time to get them out. It's stressful. It's headache. And then you got to fix it. And then you got to, put it up for rent again. And then you've gone a month or two or maybe 3, who knows? And then you're out of that money. Me, when he left, I was like, man, I got the property. I just release optioned it again. And he had fixed most of the home.
Wow.
He had fixed most of the home. And I got to lease option it again for $15,000. I made another $15,000. And I got it for $1,200. So that's
you didn't sleep on it. You just went ahead and said, I'm going to move on this. And
exactly.
And
so just to say this, now we've scaled it up to commercial. So I bought a property recently, $400,000, storage units, car wash, and a laundromat for $400,000, zero down, $3,700 a month payment. We then disposed it to other investors for $1.3 million. They paid $150,000 option, and we master leased it to them. So that means that they can sublease. It's a lease, but it just a little bit.
You know the lease.
And they pay $11,500
so they can understand.
Yeah. So as you can tell, I get really nerdy about this. And Diego, I bet,
we're all nerdy. I'm enjoying it. I mean, this is my this is what I wanted this actual podcast to be out today is who you are as an investor, real estate investor. And a lot of people out there don't know what it takes to be one. Some of them will make the excuse about not having enough money, not having enough credit, there's always an excuse or there's a reason for you to get started.
Yes.
For you had your reason and you're like, hey, what made you want to become an investor in real estate?
Okay, so I was a Taekwondo school teacher. I owned like 3 schools at the time. I loved it, but I had great staff handling it and I didn't have anything to do. So I was a Christian missionary since I was since I was 12, but really like full-time 19, 20 years old. I went to Mexico, Bolivia, Brazil, like different countries. And I would go out of country, come back, ask churches and people to donate money. And I found out quickly how nonprofit business is. And I'm coming back to beg for money. I just didn't like that. So I said, if I could create something passively, I could take care of my family. And number 2, I could fund my own missions. And that's what that was why I said I want to get into it. Also, when I was 25, again, I had my taekwondo school. This guy bought the pizza place next to me. He had slick back hair. Him and his wife had matching Cadillacs. Again, this is the South, so that was the impressive thing to me. And I said, "Sir, what do you do?" And he says, "I do real estate." And he kind of told me a few basic things what he done. So that's what planted the seed. I thought I'd get started sooner, but it took 5 years. So, but yeah, that's how I kind of got
that's
pulled
amazing
into
to
it.
hear.
Yeah.
I think God has humor, right? I always talk about that. Like it's we I mean, obviously we were at a conference, bunch of people, and you can meet anybody in the room. And I always one of my prayers is always that for him to lead me wherever he wants me to be and touch the lives that I need to touch. And here comes this relationship with a I don't know if you're still in the missionary work, but just
Yes.
a fellow Christian. And so let's talk about the faith and let's talk about your current faith. And I've come from all kinds of brokenness through my past, and been able to surpass and still be here and alive to talk about it, and which is why I don't take any day for granted. Let's talk about you and that faith, that you grow, and how important is it every day, to show up, and how important is it to you to build the difference between a religion and a relationship with God?
That's a great question. So I grew up in the church since I was like, we're like the babies who slept on the pews when my mom and them were at church. And, I grew up following an evangelist, and we were with them all the time. We read stuff from David Wilkerson to Nicky Cruz to all the great preachers and evangelists and people that did. And I even did missionary, where I told you since I was 12 and 19 we went full time, but I didn't get saved till I was 28.
Wow.
So I know what it was like to go through religion and then find reality. There's a big difference between, doing like traditional hoorah, like group type feel, you know what I mean? And just feel good. Like sometimes people want to do what they want to do for God, but not what God calls them to do. So it's like a preacher preaching that God didn't even call to preach, but they're just talking because it's good for themselves. They feel good,
Yeah.
So that to me is, Satan doesn't mind if you're in church. He don't care if you're religious. He just don't want you having a true relationship with God. And I'm glad that I was actually on the mission field in Panama, so near like Colombia, like Central America. And I was laying in bed and it just, the simplicity of Christ and what everything was going like. I said, God, I want a true relationship. And I got saved in that bedroom at a hotel in Panama, that on the mission field, funny enough. And going to Hispanic countries, I realized, I said, we're going over there to teach these people faith. I'm the one to wake up always know I have food. They wake up and don't even know if they can eat. And who am I over here trying to talk to them about faith when they're the ones who live in it? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I think
that's powerful.
that God, I guess the seed was planted when I was younger, but it just came to fruition when I was 28.
Wow.
How about you?
Yeah, I think I was a bit more stubborn, you know what I mean, throughout my life. So I was, I've gone through juvenile hall and facing 10 years to being released to, to having a motorcycle accident and being made, bedridden, not being able to move, not knowing if I'd walk again, learning to walk again, being able to just, it's one thing after another, you know what I mean, that happens in my life, but it kind of, I think I'm running full force, and then God just kind of says, hey, slow down, and and don't forget about what you're here to do. So at this point I'm like, okay, I need, even the market crash, right, financially broken, my body's been broken, spiritually broken, I've been just broken in many different ways. So I think I've just been a bit more stubborn, but now it's just been more about having that relationship. And even then, building businesses and dealing with everything that I do, there's so many distractions. And so now I'm blessed to be in an environment where I get to kind of spend some time and build more of a relationship with God on a day-to-day basis. And again, like I said, always reminding myself that the glory is not for me, the glory is for God.
Yeah. Well, God lifts up and God brings down.
100%.
In the Old Testament, it's like a shadow of the New Testament. So what happened in the physical, natural in the Old Testament represents what happens to us spiritually. And if you think about it, God even let his people go into captivity, like being taken over, in order to make them fall on their knees. So that's what he was shaking out of you. And he did that out of love. Isn't that crazy? It didn't feel like it at the time.
It's
but
crazy.
But he got your attention,
Yeah, that is true. That is true.
That's amazing.
I think that's a bit of of my story, and then through
Mm-hmm.
my story, I have a nephew who I hold dear to my heart every single day of my life, and he's an actual pastor. He became a pastor,
Wow.
and so for me that was just like it was huge, and for me to. He says I mentored him in a way, and I pushed him, and I helped him because even though when he was going to school and he was in Budapest,
Mm.
and he was still like kind of like hesitant about it, he was like, I don't want to do it, or should I? And then he just had. I told him I think it was the devil in your head, and all that doubt. Like I pushed him through it. I said, hey, God has a plan for you, and to see him where he's at now, and it's just amazing. It's a blessing to be able to see that and be like for him to even say that I had any type of impact in that. I'm glad that God used me to guide him and push him to that way.
Yeah, and sometimes I feel so unworthy, and I tell God, I say, well, God, if you can use a donkey, you can use me, because he let that donkey talk, So I try and think like that.
There you go. Well, I can relate.
Oh, my
Man. I can
gosh.
relate. I'm the same way, man.
Yeah.
That's the stubbornness in me. You know what I mean? I can just keep going. It's like slow down
Mhm.
and stop but yeah, God is definitely has humor.
Oh,
And
yeah.
So I'm very big on that. I'm very big on faith and just letting people know like, hey, there's only so much you can do on your own.
Mhm.
When you're going to realize that, hey, you need God on your side, and you need to build that relationship. And look, one thing I learned too is I'm not Jesus. I'm not
Mhm.
meant to be that. I'm
Mhm.
not Jesus. So a lot of people try to, be religious and put themselves in a Jesus and what God was for us here on earth. Well, hey, you don't compare yourself because you're not Jesus, and I'm not Jesus. And that took me a while too, because I'm a fixer, man. I'm a fixer. I like to help people and I like to fix things, and I had to deal with a lot of challenges because of that, right?
Yes,
In
yeah.
life, because you want to fix things for people that they don't want to fix themselves. So it's like, okay, I had to remind myself, and I learned that in a later age, that I'm not Jesus.
Yeah. How old are you, by the way?
No, we're not really going to talk about that, but
You're like 28,
no,
right?
but no, but I'm 45 now, man.
Oh,
I'm
man.
45.
Well, you look so. I hope I
Yeah.
look that young.
Yeah,
when I'm
man.
45.
Thank you,
man.
thank you.
That's
I think
crazy.
it's just
Let's just tell people we're
welcome
like
to the
32.
good life, baby. Welcome to the good life.
We're
So
all
if you
30.
drink the IGNYTE water, going on sale now for $35.99. No, I'm just playing.
3,599, by the way. No.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So no, man, it's just good, blessed and good life, right?
Mhm.
And so I'm glad that you spoke on that. I think a lot of people fear, and a lot of people talk about. I see it doing a lot in social media, talking about God and using God's name in vain. I think we're using it for attraction. I truly don't do that. I really don't.
Yeah.
I do it more for this is truly my life and what I believe, and so I won't be apologetic about it.
Yeah, and there's two things too. A lot of people try and mix like I don't like to take business and put it in the church. So for example, Jesus did two things. He did one thing twice before he went to to start his ministry, and right before he got out, is he went in the church and threw out the business. So I just don't like to mix it too much, or
Yeah.
anything. I'm not going to be ashamed of being a Christian, and but I don't like it when people use it just to.
Yeah, just to
Yeah, as a
store up
gimmick,
some
you know,
information. But for
like-
me, I honestly use it for, His kingdom and to glorify Him, to remind
100%.
myself, not being on a high horse and be here business-wise and see people watching me and going, glorifying myself. So I've always told people, look, in 08, I lost everything and I lost all the relationships. All everybody was, around because there was money. And there was businesses and there was everything was flourishing, so everyone was around. And so when I was left alone and emptied, you know what I mean? It's like that shows you, where your relationship needs to be at. And
Yeah, I
and-
can only imagine.
and
Like I
so-
said, I wasn't in real estate at that time, but I know that was a tough time.
It was truly, truly tough. But again, it goes to show, like, to me, it's just showing how you can get through life, and it's through a relationship with God. I mean, that's when people ask me, how do you do it? Well, there you go. Like that's kind of how He's done it with me, because it's not really me. I'm just kind of keep pushing. And it's funny because Grant said that when we met, at that event, he was said, I just keep showing up. I'm like, that's exactly my mentorship to people. When people come and ask me, like, hey, what do I do? Hey, or what have you done? I just keep
show
showing
up.
up, man. I said, look,
Yeah.
if it's not a good day, the next day I show up, and if it's a great day, the next day I just continue to show up. So I just continue to show up for the past 2 decades, and I've been blessed to still be here and alive and well, right? And you can always, one thing that we talk about, you can always make money if you lose it, but you can make up that time. So you got to try to now through all these social platforms is learn and get knowledge faster and pay to get it faster, because it's going to allow you to move faster and get the results faster. And now you're saving time, right? And saving time is worth more than saving money. You know, and I think a lot of people are focusing on saving money versus saving time. And then a lot of people are focusing on trying to make the next money, right? The next deal, the next deal. But a lot of them are not focusing on figuring out how to keep the money, to reinvest the money, to multiply the money, so then your money works for you.
Yes.
Yeah. So money works for you instead of you working for money. And like you and I both said, yeah, we might own some good stuff and some things that are there to, for me, they're there to motivate other people, to inspire the kids, right? And those that are in need as well. But at the same time, it's strategically, marketing, it's an investment to market. And I always tell people the truth, like, hey, the Ferrari, yeah, it's there. I honestly bought it. I'm not a flashy person about that stuff. I honestly bought it for marketing. I bought it so that way it gets attention. And then also at the same time, it inspires kids and other people. And I honestly feel happier in a day that my kids jump in the car and start pushing all the buttons, and they're going crazy, and they talk Ferrari and they talk Maserati, and that, for me, that's my enjoyment. That's my moment, right? It's not. I mean, I'm not gonna lie and say it's not fun to step in there and start, just shifting the paddles and going crazy here and there on the road sometimes when you're not, not doing so well. Just get in the car and drive the car, and you'll feel better later. 10 minutes later, you feel good.
You're like, you know what?
Put it back in the garage. But for the kids, for me, it's just like seeing my kiddos and having them in these type of environments are amazing, man. Like I was just talking to a buddy on my way here, and I'm like, hey, he's got a pretty good car collection. And I was like, hey, my kids have been playing this Roblox game, and they're crazy. I got a 4-year-old and a 7-year-old boy, and they're going crazy, buying cars. They're making money. And it's funny, my 4-year-old advises my 7-year-old and say, oh, you need this much more, and you can get the Ferrari, you can get the Lamborghini, you can get the, they know what cars.
They know what they are.
The other night, they were both literally like next to each other showing me on their tablets. They're limited on the tablet, by the way, too. We're limiting them. But when they are on there, because I feel like a tablet is no different than a TV when we were growing up, right? So as long as they're limited time on it, it's good for them.
100%.
And then what they're doing with it, so they're learning the money thing, right? Like they got to make X amount of money to buy that Corvette. From the Corvette, you can go to the Lamborghini. From the, what I mean, you can just kind of the BMW, the Lexus. Yeah. They talk all the different steps of the cars, and they're like, and my 4-year-old advising my 7-year-old, like he's trying to buy a car. Oh no, you don't have enough. You got to still make this much, and then you can do that. 4 years old, brother. 4 years old, telling my 7-year-old.
Future millionaires right there.
Yeah, man, it's amazing to just like, but it all starts with what? I'm not showing them Hondas and, and not knocking people that do that, that have that, but I'm just showing them that there's a different, way of life, right?
Yes.
That you can actually want more, and you don't have to just watch TV or other people on social media or on your tablet, that it can be you, and it's tangible. Yeah. It's achievable. That's the difference.
100%. Yeah, because there's a lot of people that honestly are definitely. I'm from the South. You can tell from talking to me for a while that I'm not the smartest tool and like the sharpest tool in the shed. Okay, but the fact that I took action and I do, there's a lot of smart. What is it that guy says is a lot of intelligent fools. What is that? There's a saying. I don't know.
You got me lost, but I'm the same way as you.
Yeah.
I'm the same way as you. I'm not the smartest person in the room. I'm not a techie person. I'm not all these things, but I've always surrounded myself with people that are better than me.
There you go. Yeah.
And then it's like, hey, so you might as well. I'm from the South, but Mexico South. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's the same thing with me. Like I'm not the smartest, but you don't have to be the smartest. You just have to take action, and then you have to be willing to invest in yourself and be around individuals that know more than you, and then they're you help them grow, they help you grow, and everybody grows together.
100%. Well, going to Latino America, are there? I don't know much. I was asking him earlier. Are there many like Latino American like influencers teaching business?
Very limited. I mean, I think overall, me and Albert Preciado, right? Me and Albert have developed a lot of hate, I think, and grow and love relationship because we push hard on it. But there is a few other individuals that I see out there that are doing the same and trying to help people out. We see it here and there. We see it, and hopefully, here's the thing. Here's the reality of it. Okay, I'm gonna keep it 100 right now. That our people, and I think our pride, our ego, that they just our blood. Like instead of collaborating and helping each other, like me and Albert have done, we are too busy, and this has already happened to us, even here locally, with influencers within the same that are well off, financially, old business owners, investors.
Yeah.
And instead of collaborating, they're criticizing, they're judging, and they don't actually take the time to really come and step in an office with us and get to know who we really are and our heart and our fire, right? What ignites us. They don't come in and really sit down with us and really get to know us. They just judge us based on whatever they see on social media and platforms or whatever.
Oh, he's making videos.
Yeah.
He thinks he's something, like
yeah,
that.
exactly.
Gotcha,
Instead of coming into the room and really getting to know us, and the hard thing about it is our own people. When I say our own people, is Latinos, right? Our own, we're Mexican. We're obviously here in LA, in the area. In California, there's a lot of Mexican people, but they're Latino in general. There's Latinos, and instead of collaborating, they're too busy hating on each other and pulling each other down or talking about each other. For me, I'm still big on, hey, let's build. And my wife, she's a little bit more like, no, don't talk to them anymore. But me, I'm more of like, I want to forgive and help people and just be myself. To be myself is to forgive. I've been forgiven so many times, so I want to forgive. But unfortunately, in this type of business, there's a lot of snakes. There's sharks and there's snakes.
There are.
And so you have to be careful. And I think she's just looking out for me. But at the same time, I'm like, well, I just want people to really know who I am, and who I am as an individual overall. Like, not just judge me based on one thing that they see, but really get to know that I'm really here to try to help our people, educate themselves and know that, hey, we can do this. We can make it happen. We can grow and create these lifestyles and that we've only watched on TV and saw celebrities build and saw athletes build. And yet I'm not an athlete. I'm not a celebrity by any means. Now,
me neither.
I'll be there soon, right? Or in my own platforms and what I do. But you don't have to be. You don't have to be an artist. You can grow and be financially well and build wealth without having to be that athlete or that musician or that person that you weren't born to be. And not all of us are born to be that person. Doesn't mean that you cannot live the lifestyle that you want to live. And it's sad that I can sit here with you, Shane, from Atlanta. I'm in California in the Inland Empire. We can sit here together, have this conversation, and get to know each other and see how much we can relate to one another, even though we're distance away. And yet I can't do that with my neighbor just because we're the same skin. And instead of us collaborating, we're too busy kind of, judge each other and fight against each other because I want the piece of the pie. Like, take your piece of the pie, brother. There's enough for everybody. There's enough for everybody to eat.
There is.
I don't care to take from anyone, and I want to help. And so, unfortunately, sometimes people think the other ways, and then unfortunately that takes away from the growth. I think growth. Yeah.
Oh, okay, man, that's crazy. So, yeah, because I
not to be negative about this whole thing, but it truly is it does have a negative impact. And so me and Albert choose to not feed into it. Me and Albert choose to, hey, you know what, we pay no mind against it, and we continue to focus on us and our energy and grow.
And other people would join in when it's time.
Yeah.
That's the thing, you know, for sure.
Yeah, and it's amazing, because, like you already know, the event just happened, and then, there was a little conflict between Grant and him, and I told Albert, look, man, it's just you continue to show up, and it just shows up. Show up, and it shows up, if that makes sense.
That makes sense,
so, and it shows up, and God never fails, man. God's timing is always right.
Oh no, 100%.
So it just as long as you continue to focus on that, and, you grow, and that's what we continue to do, and we continue to impact those that want to be impacted in our community.
Yes.
I think that's the biggest thing. Let's kind of touch bases a lot more of you have your event coming up. What caused you to want to start your event? I haven't actually personally done an event myself. I do host masterminds, which are more private.
We're wanting to start a good people. Mastermind too. Yes,
like masterminds for people, so that way they can come in and I can spend time with them on really helping them with systems, operations, procedures, how to hire, fire, like all the details for business owners, and then also how to invest in real estate, because a lot of them, they don't own any real estate, so they pay high taxes because they don't know any better. So then I show them, because I've been doing this for all my life. I've owned businesses and invested in real estate hand in hand. So I've saved a lot of money before even people knew what Trump saved. I was already doing that, at a smaller scale, obviously. But That's what I focus on. So what brought you to like do your event? Because I do want to plan on doing. I want to do a bigger event, right? Like
Oh
like
man.
with Ignite and bring people on
So
board.
so honestly, it's kind of funny. I was actually at a little conference, and I don't want to say who it is, but it was a little bitty conference, maybe like 50 people. Actually, here in California, south of here though. I went to the conference. The people actually, this is the first time I ever went to that where people really wasn't talking to each other about business. It's like they were just being there for ego. Very few times does that happen. Usually, the conference is always great. You always got a good crowd. I met this young boy named Tanner, so I'll say give him that. And he's a good friend now, but he's like 19, 20 years old. I think it's just turned 20 that month. I saw him in May at that time, you know. And started talking to him. I was very impressed with him. And later on that year, he said, man, I want to get into real estate. So I took him on and started mentoring him. Fast forward, 1 year later, he has 52 doors.
Wow.
He is I'm sure how many people have taken you to lunch, like teach me, and then you talk to them and they don't take action. Well, it's horrible, right? Mm-hmm. This boy took action. And I was like, man, this is awesome. And and then also I was in the vibe saying, I'm going to start doing my personal branding. I'm going to just lean in on it. And then I started doing free little workshops, free little gatherings. And then we have some people just wanted some one-on-one. So I started a private client thing. You know, they pay $150,000, 10 months. I do a couple calls a month, and I help them build their portfolio. And I said, man, that's good. And I didn't even want to charge them because I love doing this for free, just nerding out, right, with people. But I realized it was taking me away from my business. I said, you know what?
Taking your time away. Time is money.
And I've always looked and said, I don't want to be known as a guru because you get a lot of hate online. Mm-hmm. But Grant says it best: they hate you first, to love you later. Yeah. You know, and you just basically talked about you and Alba. I bet you're in California, and people just hate a person who's charging, but really they're taking us away from what we're doing.
Yeah.
And if they pay me $10,000 and I help them make $100,000 a year forever, does it matter how much I charge?
Exactly.
Plus, it takes me away from my time. So even to this day, we do free workshops. I'm doing one this Saturday for 4 hours. We do one. We've done like tons, and I've only started doing workshops since last year in June. So when I said we're going to do this, it was last year in June. By this June, I'll have held 2 conferences, 15 to 18 workshops between that, because we're trying to squeeze in some more by that time. We've helped tons of people, help people get their first deal, and my hope is this: help bring in people that actually want to take action, help them get past their first, second, or third deal, and then who knows, after some time of getting to know them, we could partner in something, or maybe because I'm getting out of single family, I'm going into more in a multi and commercial, we can pass them the deals that we don't want. We don't even hold them. We just let them have it, you know, or sometimes we'll hold it depending on the deal. So I feel like this. I love win-win-wins. Yeah. Like in my single family, I bought that house from that lady. Mm-hmm. She was in a stress. Now she gets to make it completely passive. Yeah. I took on the stress of that. Mm-hmm. I gave someone an opportunity to buy. Mm-hmm. If they fulfill, they're going to, buy the home, and they get to own a home. It feels good. Mm-hmm. Same thing with this. I've taken and given a lot of my time for free. Sometimes they take action, sometimes they don't. But I notice if they pay something and it hurts, they'll take action. Yeah. I've tested free stuff. We've done 2-day academies. We charge $5,000 for 2 days. We've did a 6-day boot camp, and I've done those. And now I'm like, man, some people still aren't taking action. So we keep just revitalizing to give as much value. So we have the scripts, the contracts. We give them to our network. We let them partner amongst each other. We recommend certain things. We have guys that do construction. We'll connect them with the people that we've used that are reputable.
Man, you just pretty much like stack up the value for them, and then it's really up to them to just take action. So there's no excuse like, hey, there's a charge, but here's this. You can get an ROI on it, but you have to take action. There's nothing else we can do. We can give you all this, but we can't do it for you.
Yes, and pretty much everything that we do for free is just, we're going to give you everything we can. Here's all the knowledge you want. But if they want us to come and like, hey, talk to me for an hour and come send my buddy over there for a week or something, that's going to take some time, you know what I mean? And that's more customized. Yeah. As far as value, we want to give as much as we can for free. And I created it accordingly to what I needed, because it took me 5 years to get started. Yeah. I wasn't bold like you, like, I'm idea and just do it the next day. That's you, I can tell. You're just a go-getter. It took me 5 years. I was afraid. I didn't have enough knowledge. I'm not the smartest person in the world. I'm from a small town. Look at my accent, right? It's like, it took me so. I said, what would have made me do it quicker than 5 years is this stuff. So I created that.
Together.
Yeah, so that's kind of why we decided to do it. I feel like it's a great way, and if I partner with someone, great. If I don't, they'll talk good about us, and we'll collaborate. And just being in the room with people that are successful, whether you do deals with them or not, it helps. And I want to be around positive people, so I'm kind of creating a little nerdy community, basically. Yeah.
Well, I've always, I mean, you say nerdy, but I've always enjoyed being around. Even in high school and all that stuff, because that's how I copied my way through life, right?
Yeah.
And so I've always had nerdy friends, because I was like, I just got to copy them, and I'm going to get through it. And then I, went all the way through college, dropped out, and then continued to start copying entrepreneurs, and and I continue to do what I do. I was like, tell people, like, why are you guys trying to reinvent things? Just look at what works for others, and kind of put your little twist in it, and make it happen.
We say honestly, what I hope you guys do, you either work with us, or you'll rip off and duplicate what we do and go do it for yourself. And we're happy with it either way.
There you go.
That's how we do it. So, we're very similar on that.
Brother, I want to appreciate you for coming on. And, it's amazing that, we are going to, I'm sure we're going to work together here 100%. In the future. And we'll talk about possibly me being on Pivot Stage. I would love to try to do that. And that would be dope. And, but look, thank you. Where can people find you on the socials and everywhere?
So you guys can find me on Instagram, YouTube, X. I even have Snapchat at Shane So. My last name is So, but everyone says CO. Okay, because
I always say SEO.
Yeah,
I think that's how I introduced you.
Yeah, so
Shane So.
Yeah, Shane So. It's very Asian. I'm half Korean, so it's at Shane SHANE SEO. And if you guys want to come to the Pivot Conference, it's thepivotsummit.com. You guys, and we'll make sure to add in your link to a little promo code. You guys can get a 50% off, and then on any of the big tickets or any of the basic, we'll just give to you for free. We just want you guys to come. Love to have you guys out. That's on May 30th, 2025.
Okay, so we got to move fast. And we'll make sure we release this over for you guys so that you guys can actually take advantage of the event and be at the event. And again, you're either full of excuses or you're full of reasons. Let's ignite the fire. I forgot one question. Hold on, I'm going to stop. The one question. What continues to ignite that fire inside of you? What is that one thing? What's your why? What's your purpose?
I was going to say, it'd be my why. So it's a few things, okay? I hate to say it just one, but it's really family, okay? Family and friends. Biblically speaking, like I believe that it's kind of like Dan Cathy said, who he owns Chick-fil-A now, right? Like him and his family. He says, I don't own Chick-fil-A. God has just entrusted me with it for a time being. I'm not going to own all this real estate when I pass. It's God. So I give it all to him. So I'm handling it, and I'm going to give 100% of it. I'm going to handle 100% of it as if I'm doing it for God. So I do everything as if I'm going to do it for God. So if I knew Jesus Christ was going to walk in this room, I'd clean it up and have everything perfect, right? I try and do that for him. So I want to do everything to glorify him. I want to do everything to do what the biblical teachings. I want to provide and protect my wife, and I want to help others. So that's my reason why I grow and why I give as much energy, and I get past the fear because that's my why. That's awesome. I know what I'm doing it for. So that's me.
There we go. All right, guys. So look out. Thank you again, Shane, for coming on and ignite the fire, baby. Let's go.
Woo. We'll see you guys.